If a singer feels that there's something wrong with their voice or something's not quite right, for example, after a cold or a virus, the voice doesn't come back to where it was before, you know, the freedom. There could be lack of range. The high notes may have disappeared while they were ill, but they don't come back. Or just through, if there's been a heavy 3 or 4 gigs in a row, or a heavy schedule of rehearsal and performing, and you notice, or they notice, that their voice is losing its range, that's a warning sign. Another is hoarseness. Hoarseness after singing and having to clear the throat constantly, again, is another problem that could be experiencing. Even breathing, that the long phrases that you were able to sustain, suddenly you're having to take a breath halfway through, breaths in places that you wouldn't normally, the voice cutting out, go for the high note and it just goes, just cracks and disappears. If you're in tune with your voice, if you're aware of how your voice works, and over, say, 2 or 3 weeks these things aren't improving, then you can go back to your singing teacher and voice coach and say, I'm having this problem, could you just check me out and just give me some exercises again and see how I'm coping? Or if you're really concerned, go to your GP and ask to be referred to a voice clinic. Now, there are many voice clinics all over the country that are absolutely wonderful for performers and singers, and they're attached to hospitals, and they work to look after the professional voice user. And they have experts there that are used to the speaking voice and the singing voice. The British Voice Association have a list of the voice clinics that could be in your area, so you can just phone them up and ask where there is one. Go to your GP if you've sourced this and tell them where your nearest voice clinic is. You will then be given an appointment, and it may be some time, but at least you know you're in the system. And you then will speak to, when you go, you'll have to do a voice test, speech voice test, and then you'll speak to either a registrar or an ENT consultant, and they'll ask you about your problem. And you'll also be asked to fill in questionnaires about how this is affecting you physically and your performance, but also it will ask you how you're coping emotionally with the problem. Because if you still have to perform and your voice isn't working as well as you'd like it to, it's so worrying to go on stage with an instrument that isn't working at its best. So the questionnaire gives the ENT consultant an idea of whether it's a physical problem, but moving on to an emotional problem as well. And they will do an examination of your throat to see if there's any tension, and then a scope to look down at the vocal folds to make sure there's nothing worrying happening there. They'll give you advice, and if necessary, they'll arrange some speech and language therapy for you to help with different exercises, maybe some medications if needed, and then they'll refer you back to your singing teacher. So all will be well.